science and art are closely combined. Science is a very creative field. In basic research, you are making discoveries every day, and in order to make those discoveries, you have to be able to think creatively. You have to be able to think beyond the box and find novel approaches. I'm Dr. Melanie Rodrigues. I'm a scientist and biotechnology professional. I would like to thank the management and faculty of Beyond 8 for giving me this opportunity to talk to students. As a high school student, it was my dream to make an impact on healthcare. I especially wanted to ensure that every individual and every patient had equal access to healthcare. Biotechnology back then was a new and emerging field, and I thought that this would be a field that would allow me to build better medicines for diseases that had not so good therapies available, as well as build novel medicines for diseases which absolutely did not have any therapies out there. And based on this decision, I did an undergraduate in bioengineering in Bangalore. I agree with you on these statistics. And these stats are not limited to India alone. If you look at the 2019 census in the United States, only 27% of women made up the STEM fields. Now, some STEM fields such as math and biological sciences have more women than others, such as engineering and computer science. But engineering and computer science also make up 80% of STEM. And the disparities are not limited to the total numbers alone. Change absolutely has to happen, but this change is not going to happen overnight. It is a generational change. From my perspective, I think seeing is believing. I like to see not just women in an organization, but also women staying back and growing in an organization and making up the leadership. I like to see women compensated as much as their counterparts. And the change has to happen systematically. It has to happen starting at home, where we encourage girls and women to study beyond, to continue studying, to get into work, to continue working if that is their wish, and give them a support structure. And these achievements at work, at educational institutions have to be celebrated. You have to make women feel like they have accomplished something, and encourage them to stay within the system rather than encourage them to leave the system. And this change has been happening. You can see it in the media with women's achievements being celebrated. It is also in India, for example, you have Kiran Majumdar-Shaw. She has been the leader in terms of biotechnology. But if you look at the Western world, you've had very few women at the top level in management positions. This is changing now, though. The CEO of GSK today is a woman, and we have Indian women in CEO positions. There is Reshma Kebal-Ramani, who's the CEO of Vertex. There are also executives such as Ramona Sequeira, who are at top levels in companies such as Takeda. And it's not just in terms of women. You also have Vas Narasimhan, who is of Indian origin, who's the CEO of Novartis today. And these people are collectively breaking boundaries and changing the norm. And it's so encouraging to see people of your same color and women at top levels. It's absolutely encouraging. I would actually question why they're not really interested in STEM. Are we as educators doing a poor job in terms of getting them excited? I think any subject can be pitched well to a child or to anyone for that matter. And it's up to us to get them excited in engineering and science and coding and math. That's up to us. In terms of talking to them, I would tell girls that just by being in science, it does not mean that you are far away from creativity or from art. Science and art are closely combined. Science is a very creative field. In basic research, you are making discoveries every day, and in order to make those discoveries, you have to be able to think creatively. You have to be able to think beyond the box and find novel approaches. Thank you for acknowledging the small amount of work that was done in India. I'm extremely fortunate to have spent a year back home between my research. When I went home, I saw these numbers that there were about 500 million people around the world without access to a toilet, 60% of whom were in India. The statistics were absolutely horrific because I had not seen patients of any indication that large a number. And the mere fact that patients did not have access to a toilet was leading to a barrage of healthcare issues and mortality in children. The government had initiated the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and there were toilets being built under various government schemes. But I worked with the foundation and identified that there were a large number of women-run households that had no idea about these schemes and totally missed the government deadlines for having the toilets constructed for them. So we identified these houses, and through the foundation ensured that toilets were built for them. According to me, being liberal is to be open to various thoughts, ideas, and ideologies, and to be able to process all of this information without bias and without being judgmental. In terms of the merger between arts and STEM, I have never considered STEM to be disparate from the arts. To me, science and STEM has been always extremely artistic. But from a more relatable viewpoint, we can talk about COVID being a prime example of how various stakeholders inside of science and outside of science have come together to solve a humanitarian crisis. We are still undergoing this humanitarian crisis, but we have overcome it to a very large extent through the vaccines being developed and the various drugs that continue to be researched in clinical trials. And this has happened because of the close coordination between scientists, pharma companies, governments at various levels, as well as policymakers. COVID is absolutely a prime example and can be used, I think, as a standard to overcome a whole lot of other indications, including infectious diseases.